That brings us to the next story. You've heard about the Supreme Court now looking at the issue of whether the big networks, the broadcast networks on the public airwaves, quote unquote, should still have stricter standards than all the cable networks or the internet when it comes to smutty stuff, dirty talking, or whatever, right? You know, cuss words. And maybe an occasional boob or something, right? So the question is, this is what the Supreme Court is looking at this. And in fact, Carol, today at the Supreme Court, a lawyer for ABC happened to mention that the statues in the courtroom have bare breasts and naked buttocks, right? And so there is actually a Supreme Court transcript somewhere right now where one of the participants on the Supreme Court transcript is quoted saying, "There's a bare buttocks, and there's a bare buttocks." American history will never be the same again. I love that. Because it's true, it's completely arbitrary. And Alito, Samuel Alito, I'm going to be a little unfair to Samuel Alito here. Samuel Alito actually said, well, we don't have to decide this because broadcast TV is going to be dead soon anyway. Which it is a cop-out, and it also undercuts the Obama administration's argument in favor of this, which is that, well, broadcast is still dominant. That's one of their main points, is that it's still bigger and watched by more people than cable and whatever, maybe not the internet. And so, you know, it really should, we need a safe haven. And Alito actually is like saying, well, technology marches on and broadcast will be left by the wayside, so we don't need to rush and do this, right? That was his argument, like this technology's marching on and this will soon be moot argument. Meanwhile, technology has marched on, but the Supreme Court still will not allow TV cameras in so that you and I, American citizens, can watch the deliberations of the highest court in our land. So I thought that was really funny. So now maybe this is how I might be being unfair to him. Maybe Samuel Alito has been a strong voice in favor of the Supreme Court opening itself up to TV cameras behind the scenes. I have no idea. Maybe even publicly. But I thought it was really ironic that on the one hand, a member of the Supreme Court is saying, well, technology marches on and we really ought to just, you know, acknowledge the reality of technology marching on. And yet, not in this courtroom, right. And Carol said, that's it. I thought that was really funny. Should there be, I think the difference now in standards is ridiculous. They should just have, you know, and actually right now, after 10 p.m., technically, the lawyers for ABC and Fox and them were arguing, technically we can do what we want, but we don't. We restrain ourselves. It's not family hour, right? So there's this mutual agreement. And I love that like Justice Roberts and Chief Justice Roberts, they're now all talking about, well, these are still the public airwaves. And I'm like, oh, really? Isn't that socialism? Right? They're now talking about, well, these are the public airwaves and we need to have oh yeah, whatever happened to those public airwaves? Whatever happened to the idea that the airwaves, you know, that the broadcasters lease from the government should be required to, you know, maybe provide a bit more educational programming than, the latest reality crap fest? No, we can't do that. It's all private, it's business. It's all, the public airwaves are just for business, right? Yeah, I know about PBS, but you know what I mean. I mean, it's really funny to watch the Supreme Court now pulling the public airwaves argument out of its butt, right? When for pretty much most other purposes, the current Supreme Court doesn't give two craps, the majority anyway, doesn't give two craps about concepts like the public airwaves. Except when Justice Roberts makes a little slip of the tongue and says, well, what we're asking, I mean, what the government is asking, right? He's impartial. I mean, we know they're not impartial, but you know what I'm saying. He makes these little slips where clearly now it's personal for him. So now suddenly we have public airwaves that are worth defending as public property. You don't hear that coming very often from the Roberts Court. Okay, can we put up the next one, Carol? Remember, monkeys, remember, this is key. South Carolina, I know I haven't been following it very closely because these people bore me to tears. They really do. This is just the most, this batch of people is just so wretched. It's just such a wretched batch of people. And yes, I include Obama in that. He's just less wretched than the others, but I am just not a big fan of our current president. Unfortunately for me, all the other options are so much worse. So much worse. But South Carolina is the dirty one. That's the dirty state. Remember what happened in 2004 in the Republican primary? That's where Karl Rove and the Bush people, all at arm's length, so they didn't have to sully their own hands, spread the rumors that John McCain had a black baby out of wedlock. Am I the only one that remembers this? McCain was so furious. It took him years to get over it and come back around to Bush, but eventually he did because he has no principles. But here's the key thing. After that hit, in case you didn't know, John McCain and his wife adopted an Indian girl, right? She's got very, very brown skin. After that hit, John McCain hid away his dark-skinned adopted child from his public appearances on the campaign trail. Kid you not. You will not see John McCain's, now I'm going to say this because I remember it, but I'll double check it. I don't think John McCain's black adopted or Indian adopted daughter was with him on stage at the Republican National Convention with his family. Carol, correct me if I'm wrong.
She was somewhere because I did see her.
She was somewhere, but there was a period of time there. Maybe she was right up there, but I don't think she was on the stage the main night that he gave his speech. I don't think so. I think anyway, what I do know is that she got tucked away for months after the South Carolina primary and up to the South Carolina primary. It left me with this horrible distaste. Ugh. I'll double check this and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so that happened in South Carolina. So Mitt Romney's vulnerable on a lot of these dirty mudslinging kind of attacks. He's also vulnerable on the fact that he's just a jerk. But that was the high road, Carol. But the dirty mudslinging attacks, which is the religion, is Mormonism a real religion? And monkeys, I'm sorry. Mormonism is certainly on some philosophical level no crazier than any other magical religion, in my book. However, given the current state of how most people think about religion, a religion like Mormonism where everybody, how much time?
3.
Oh, we're done?
3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes. God, don't say 3. I thought it was 3 seconds. A religion where everybody gets their own planet when they die? I mean, this is close to Xenu and Scientology. What? What'd you say? Oh, only men get their own planet, Carol says. I mean, this is what they believe. And if you bring this up, you've got two counter-arguments. On the right, you've got the counter-argument, oh, you're just being, bigoted against religion, and religion doesn't matter. It's like, no, that's kind of loony. Really? And on the left, you get, pearly gates. and that's, I can understand that. But the point is, by modern American mainstream standards, Mormonism, when you look at it closely, is a really weird religion. Come on. Native Americans, the lost tribe of Israel. It's a really weird religion. Now, it's hard to talk about Mormonism being a really, really bleeped up religion and not buy into this long history in America of physical and political attacks against Mormonism. I mean, there were massacres, really, So, why do you think they ended up in Utah? So it's hard to say that and still say that was just as bad. The persecution of this weird, bleeped up religion in the 1800s, 1900s, and the discrimination. Anyway, my point, the larger point is, you're going to expect to see a lot of robocalling. Do you think someone who's not a true Christian can be president of the United States? 2 Republican voters in South Carolina this week.
You want to talk about Machu Picchu?
Oh, 1 minute. Oh yeah, 2 recommendations. First, I want to thank North American Video over in Cameron Village. My friend George and I saw Margin Call, really interesting movie about the Wall Street collapse. It's not a history, it's a brief dramatization of one day in the collapse of a major Wall Street firm. And then Contagion, which we watched last night. So thanks, North American Video is a sponsor. They let me watch these movies and I spread on the good news to you. Contagion is very much worth seeing if you like epidemic movies. It's stylish, it's interesting. I could have done with more, well, I won't say.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to.
Okay, it's good, it's well done. And Carol, Machu Picchu, we went to Machu Picchu Sunday, the Peruvian restaurant on Falls of the Noose Road. 20 seconds? Was it good?
Yeah, it was good. It was interesting and flavorful.
Interesting, flavorful. The ceviche sampler, an amazing appetizer. The seafood just cooked in citrus. Oh my God, the spices, it was so tangy. It was just absolutely incredible. So high thumbs up to Machu Picchu restaurant on Falls of the Noose. All right, we'll see you next week.